bringing the people behind our food to life.
Well, anybody who's shopped at a farmer's market will know that food that's organic, local, sustainably grown is not always the least expensive item on the grocery list.
That's right.
How do you sort of make that jive with the minuscule amounts of money that federal and state governments seem to be willing to give to children's lunch programs?
Right. Yeah, it can definitely be an issue. And what we found in working through the Farm to School program is that the farmers that primarily benefit from this program may not be those that are at the farmer's market getting the highest dollar that they can for their product. But it could very well be that farmer who has been selling to the wholesale market and is now finding himself or herself not at all competitive in that market anymore. And it's some of those folks that find selling to schools to be a higher price than what they would get on the wholesale market. And if they're working with school districts that are, say, 15 schools or more, they can sell in a fairly large volume. And so there is an opening for those farmers to sell to schools. What we've also found is that when there is the large volume, then the price does come down and it does become a much more affordable product for a school. We've also found that when food service directors see kids eating something, they sometimes find more money to pay for it. And so if it is, and I know that one penny makes a huge difference when you're feeding 10,000 kids. But food service directors, I mean, their budget includes their labor and their equipment and their food costs and all of those different things. And they're constantly having costs go up in one area and having to adjust in another. And if they see kids actually eating what's on their plate, there's much more incentive to purchase that product at a slightly higher price than to purchase or than to use the canned commodity products of the canned green beans. So there's definitely that incentive of seeing kids eating the product.
And kids eat the product.
They do. That's the wonderful thing. I was speaking with Betsy Cole, who is a food service staff person in the Santa Fe Public Schools, and she said that they buy New Mexican apples for as long as they can, and they love them because the New Mexico farmers, and this happens in a number of states across the country, where apple growers will sell the schools small size apples that normally they can't sell on the open market. So here they've got a product that's too small to go anywhere else, that normally would just go back into compost, become a cull product, that they can now sell. So they've got a market for that product. And she says when those apples go out of season and they start bringing in apples from other places, they see those apples go into the trash. And I would also add that with the price of food going up so much, the School Nutrition Association just reported that the overall price of the school food meal is going up about 10%, which is a huge cost increase. And so we're really looking to see at the effect that that's going to have on local purchasing, given obviously the less transportation requirements. And what we heard in New Mexico in terms of the apples is that whereas Albuquerque schools were buying them at $18 a case, it looks like the farmers are going to raise their price up to $20 or $22 a case. However, the apples coming in from out of state are going up to $32 a box. So even with a little bit of an increase on the local level, these products are still more than competitive with products that are coming in from out of state.
Some of us of a certain age can remember when school lunch programs and the lunch ladies actually did make the lunch that they served. In a lot of cases in the state of Oregon and across the country, they're building schools that don't even have kitchens anymore, or kitchens that don't even have knives. So how do you deal with those kind of infrastructure issues when it comes to wanting to incorporate more fresh local food in a kid's diet?
Yeah, that's a huge issue, and clearly it's very hard to include fresh product when you don't have a kitchen and can't do that kind of food prep. So there's a couple ways that we look at that. One is by encouraging farmers to do some processing. And there are a number of groups around the country where farmers have begun to, for example, make broccoli florets out of a broccoli crown, or dice onions or potatoes so that those are ready to use. So it's encouraging farmers to build those kinds of health-approved facilities where they can do some minimal processing to get the product to the kitchen in a way that makes sense. If the farmers aren't doing the processing, then it comes down to the schools. And what we try to do on a national level is to encourage policies that will provide some funding for schools to be able to buy food processing equipment and to put in school kitchens and to get the equipment that they need. And so we have actually in the 2004 Child Nutrition Reauthorization, we did get established a farm-to-school program that would provide grants to schools, and one of the uses for that is to buy food preparation equipment, anything from knives to blenders to stoves to storage. We have not yet gotten that funded, and what we will be doing this year and next year with the reauthorization of the child nutrition legislation is going back to try to get mandatory funding for this program. There was a program that was actually abolished in the 80s that provided a fund for schools to apply for funding to build these kinds of facilities. It was a federal grant program that was eliminated. And there's actually quite a bit of interest in different groups around the country in trying to reinstate that program so that federal funds can be used to rebuild these kitchen facilities.
Well, it just seems like there's this rising tide of passion on a national level to support these kinds of programs like Farm to School. But if the policies aren't there in place to help make it happen, it's kind of a difficult haul, isn't it?
Well, it can be, but in some ways, Farm to School can start by a number of people meeting in a room to talk about what grows locally, what's in season when, what are the school menus, what products are they using, where might we be able to substitute some local product from what is being bought on a national scale. And so there are conversations, there are things that can happen without necessarily having a lot of money that can start farm to school programs. A very dedicated food service person, and there are those folks out there that have worked very hard to make this happen without necessarily having a lot of funding. Funding is needed on a lot of different levels for many things, but there are things that you can do without having policies that necessarily provide you with those kinds of startup funds.